What's going on, Zach?
Ooh, not a whole lot.
No?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, that's good.
No hunting, though?
No, but it's funny because even though you texted me and told me that I should be out in the woods and I wasn't out there, that buck texted me and passed my camera. Told me that I should be at like 5:30 in the morning.
Say that again.
I said that even though you texted me and told me that I should have been out in the woods, and
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
That buck passed in front of my camera.
Dude, when are you gonna get it through your freaking head that I know what I'm talking about?
Never.
It's been a lot of years that I've just grown up into this world.
Is it? Hasn't it?
I have been fortunate enough in my life to have a place, really all the kind of hunting land I could have ever dreamed of with my dad and all the land that he manages back in Florida, and then plus our ranch in Alabama. So it just, I truly have been blessed in that way.
You've been spoiled, is what you've been.
You could call it, but it's kind of like by default in that sense, because I've been spoiled with the ranch in Alabama, but now the stuff in Florida I've been spoiled with, but that's just because of the hard work my dad's put in, right? With his job, and so I mean that's not our property. It's just
That's family property, is it not?
not in Florida. Fuck, I wish.
Oh no, not Florida. I'm talking about Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama is, yes, and I've been spoiled. Like I said, I've been spoiled in that sense. I cannot deny that fact. But other than the land in Alabama, I've had countless places to hunt and fish growing up in Florida too. So, but.
That's nice. I'm over here with.
Well, you're allowed to go anytime you want. I was gonna see if you wanted to go here soon anyway.
No, you weren't. You weren't gonna call me and ask me.
Yeah, I was.
It's okay. You don't have to make me feel better.
Mm-hmm. Do you have your mic in your phone?
No, why?
Oh, I can tell.
What? Oh no! Like I have my actual mic plugged up to my phone.
Okay. Just sounds like it's an echo. You need to talk into the mic, Zach.
Sorry, I'm doing stuff at the same time.
You're good. So, I got a few different things to talk about today, Zach. Couple different things.
I imagine so.
But the first thing, I've been waiting for this all morning.
Of course you have.
How about them Bulldogs, Zach?
So stupid.
Hey, I
knew you were gonna do this.
I got something for you. You ready? How about them dogs, Zach? Those fucking little puppy dogs.
This is what you call a salty Florida fan. So dumb.
We got to at least hear the intro here.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
People had been talking to me about that game like leading up to it last week, and I said the same thing to every person. I said, should they win the game? Of course they should. They should 1,000% just stomp Alabama.
That's not true.
I said, but it is. Hold on. I'm not done yet. I said, but this is what's actually going to happen. One, Kirby Smart's going to choke against Saban because he always does. And two, the state of Georgia has already gotten their one championship for the year, and that is the World Series.
We got. What's up, Eric? How's it going? Eric, I'm playing Sweet Home Alabama because Zach is a Georgia Bulldog fan. Oh, and you're from Georgia too, aren't you? Eric Kirk's in Georgia as well, so he can get this roast session here too. Thanks for sharing the show, though, Eric. Before we get going, I had to play this song before we got started.
You're so dumb.
All right, that's enough of that. So,
God, I hope Florida has just a killer year next year in the regular season, And then I hope they just get absolutely worked in the postseason.
I can't promise what we're gonna do next year because we just hired a good coach. We hired the guy from Louisiana Lafayette. Okay, I don't know what the hell happened this year. Mullen, I kind of do. We lost our great quarterback. We have two good quarterbacks. Hell, we have the best athlete in the country, but I don't know what's up with Mullins. I think Dan Mullen is wanting to go coach with Urban Meyer in the NFL and be his offensive coordinator. I think that's kind of what his mindset was, I need a reason to get out of this job. Mm-hmm. So he kind of played it down like that. But here's the thing, Zach. Georgia should not have beat that team. Georgia is not better than that team.
You're joking.
Okay, you're looking at, this is everyone's problem, okay? When it comes to Georgia this year. Everyone is looking at how dominant Georgia's defense has been in it, and they have been. But every team Georgia has played this year, Zach, has been dog shit. Literally every team. The best team they played was Clemson, who ended up being a 3-loss Clemson team and has one of the worst offenses in the country. And Georgia won on a interception. They couldn't even score on Clemson. Literally every team that Georgia has played, I think, is barely bowl eligible.
Who has Alabama played?
Texas A&M, Ole Miss, who's 11-2. Who else? Auburn is always Auburn with them. It's the Iron Bowl, so that's always going to be a hard game. Could go either way, even if Auburn hasn't won a game. But they beat Texas A&M, and they beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss is in the top 10. That's the thing is, Georgia's schedule in the beginning of the year looked good because you had Clemson, right? It's Clemson. First game of the season. Like, it's not anything they did. It's just how the circumstances ended up being that none of the teams that they played ended up being anything. Auburn was the best team that they played, and Auburn, I think, only won 7 games. So that's the thing is when you're looking at, they've been dominant, but they haven't been what everyone thinks they are. Now, I'm not saying they're not a good team. I'm not saying they're not the second best team or the first best team. I don't know. We'll see in the playoffs. I'm just saying that loss should not have surprised anyone one bit.
I'm not saying it surprised me. I'm just saying that Alabama is not the Alabama that they used to be. You can say whatever you want about TAMU and Auburn, but what do you mean?
Alabama's not the team they used to be this year.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
They're coming off one of the best teams they've ever had.
Well, that's fine. But compared to previous Alabamas, they are nowhere near what they used to be. And so the fact that, one, TAMU beat them, they lost to TAMU, and then Auburn almost beat them. They had a hard time beating a very mediocre Auburn team. But
you're talking, you can't say Auburn. No matter what, when it comes to Alabama, you can't say Auburn because that is a game that literally Auburn could not win a game all year, and Alabama could be undefeated, and Auburn go out there and beat Alabama. It's the craziest game. It's the freaking Iron Bowl. So that's one thing that you cannot. I
don't know if I agree with that.
Really is. It's the truth. It's happened multiple times. Auburn is the only team to consistently beat Saban or have a shot to beat Saban. They're the only team. It is just one of those crazy rivalry games. So, we'll see.
Whatever. I don't want to watch any more college football because I don't want to see Georgia and Alabama play each other again.
Well, they may not. Let me tell you something. Cincinnati is real, okay?
Cincinnati's not going to beat Alabama.
Alabama has been beat by Group of 5 teams before in bowl games, just so you know.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think Cincinnati's going to be the one to beat Alabama.
Don't discount it. Crazier things that happen. And Michigan is extremely good. So don't compare. Michigan would be the second best team so far, other than Alabama, that Georgia has played all year. By far. They're very good. So, you know, we'll see. I'm not discounting the fact that Georgia is a great team. They are a great team. I'm just saying that they got a huge reality check. And you're right. Alabama isn't the team that they normally are. But first of all, their quarterback is just a freak of nature. Okay, I mean
Alabama?
Yeah, Bryce Young is just a freak. He'll be the outright Heisman, I think, in my opinion. And he's a freak. He has ice in his veins. But let's move on. I got my college football fix out of here, and I had to play that song. I woke up early this morning and I got that song ready just to brag to you about it.
I bet you did. I bet you just sat there and had a stupid shit-eating grin on your face.
I did, and it's a good song too. So, but next thing I want to talk about. Did you get the link to the video I made on Facebook?
I did.
Did you watch it?
I did.
It's going viral now, and I love it.
Is it?
Yeah. Like, I woke up, I've had like 5,000 views already in the last, I don't know, a couple hours. And it'll probably be over 30 or 40 by the end of the day, I would imagine. So this is like the second or third one I've done like that is just taken off. And they're funny. And I like doing it because it makes people laugh. I think that some of the comments, people like take it so serious. It's a joke, right? They're just little parody videos. It's a joke, people. You know, but I love making people laugh. And I like seeing people's reaction and seeing it share. So Facebook doesn't like it. They won't monetize it, assholes. But it is what it is, you know. I like seeing people's reaction to it. But the first one with the brother with you know which one I'm talking about. Ilhan Omar, where it's like, yeah. I saw that clip. I had seen that movie a while ago, but I saw that clip somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I'm like, oh my god, I have to use that. And it just so happened that we have a congresswoman who was married to her brother. So I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it.
Oh, I'm sure you couldn't.
So, but there's a lot that happened over the weekend. I know you probably didn't keep up with it, Zach, because I'm your source of quality and reliable news as of lately.
That's right.
But do you know who Chris Cuomo is?
I've heard the name about 1,000 times.
So Chris Cuomo was the primetime anchor at CNN. He was like CNN's Tucker Carlson.
Okay.
All right? Except Tucker Carlson is way out of Cuomo's league. But he just got fired. Now, his brother was Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor of New York this past year during COVID and stuff. He was the guy. I don't know if you ever sat down. Did you ever watch Trump's conferences, daily conferences that he held every day during COVID last year?
No, I did not.
Well, Trump got up and talked every day last year during COVID. It's also a very big contrast between Trump and Joe Biden, because Trump got up there and talked every day during COVID on a subject that we were learning about, that no one really knew much about, and was answering questions. And Biden is talking about subjects that we know 100% about, and he won't even take a question on it. But Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, would have his conferences either at the same time or right after Trump. And what I didn't like about his conferences, because it's like, I'm in Tennessee, he's the governor of New York, why the hell do I need to watch him? Why do I care what he's doing? And the other thing was, he would sit down and talk the whole time. But he's one of those guys, he like has that persona like he's just better than you. He thinks he's better than you, kind of. Well, come to find out, he was getting praised for the way he was handling COVID and stuff in New York. Well, come to find out, he was sending old people back to nursing homes that were COVID positive.
Yeah.
And it resulted in the deaths of like a couple thousand people.
Really?
Yeah. And someone that he worked with, or another Democrat, I don't know who it was, but someone told on him. And they did an investigation. But they kind of just blew it off. Well, then it comes out that he was, had some sexual misconduct in his office with a lot of the women that he hired. So he ends up resigning over all that sexual misconduct. Andrew Cuomo.
Uh-huh.
Well, Chris Cuomo, his younger brother, was again the primetime slot at CNN, and he would have his brother on like every day during COVID, and they would talk and joke around, oh, brotherly love, all that shit. Well, when Andrew Cuomo stepped down because of all the sexual assault stuff, his brother wasn't allowed to interview him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother, and I'm not gonna fault him for trying to help his brother out, right? But CNN was like, look, you can't be going and talking to him. He's under investigation. Like, we don't want any part of this. Like, well, he went and offered advice to his brother, like legal advice and stuff like that, I think. CNN finds out about this, and he also tried digging up dirt on some of the people that were trying to, investigate his brother. So he's like a huge conflict of interest. Well, he ended up getting fired because of this. But this is a big thing because he was the biggest guy at CNN. Like, there's no one else at CNN, ratings-wise. In fact, if CNN wasn't on at airports, I would probably have more viewers than CNN does. I mean, it's they're and ever since really since before the Joe Rogan thing, but Joe Rogan has really put a beating on him. But it just goes to show you that you kind of had to keep up with it, Zach. I know I'm talking to you and you don't know a lot about it, but the people that are listening that do know about this, when it comes to the Cuomos, every time I want to say homos.
He sounds like a reality TV show.
Well, every time I want to say the homos, but
don't do that.
It's so tempting.
I can imagine.
When it comes to the Cuomos, Andrew Cuomo was a guy that was being praised so much for the way that he was handling COVID. The Dems praise this man, and he turns out to just be a fraud. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people saw through it. I didn't like the way the guy conducted his press conferences because it's like, you're the head of one single state. Why the hell are you on national television every day talking? The only person that should be doing that is the president and his professionals that he's hired and put in that place to talk, like Fauci and all them or whatever. And then why would you sit down as a leader of a state? You sit down the whole time you do the press conference. I just don't like that. Like, stand up.
It's New York, man. It's a different world up there.
So that's funny. So Chris Cuomo, Zach, I should have went back and played the clip, but last year he tested positive for COVID, like right in the middle of April when we're all at home in lockdown.
Yeah.
And he goes on CNN, he's talking about how bad he feels and how bad COVID is, and that whole just that whole BS about COVID's so bad, don't go out, don't do this, wear your mask, blah blah. And he's at home and he's doing his live shows from home, right? Well, like the next day, while he's still COVID positive, he's out with a group of people inspecting his new house that he's building and riding his bike and shit. Yeah. So he's a fraud. Like they lie. They bullshit. CNN's so bad about this, and and MSNBC is too. And people are out like, really? You're telling us not to do this, and here you are. What? You're just better than everyone? Like, that's the kind of guys these are.
Yeah.
And I saw a meme, and it says, what was it? Oh, Cuomo economic report just came out. Unemployment rate is 100%. Because they're both fired now.
Yeah.
So,
goodness gracious.
But, I mean, I'm not going to fault someone for wanting to help the brother. And so I don't know what I'd do in that situation. But at the same time, it comes back to just don't put yourself in that situation, period. Don't start. Don't go and grab at your coworker's ass especially when you're the boss or the governor. If you're the governor, I get we all make mistakes and we're guys and all that, but if you're the governor, like, that you can't just be going and doing stuff like that. Right? I mean, it's pretty...
No, that's people with power, though. They think they're untouchable.
Yeah. Well, he's not untouchable now. He's at home. Fired.
He's at home.
But what's up, Mr. A? What's going on? Weren't sure if you were going to join. I know we did it a little bit earlier today for you. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about the Andrew Cuomo thing and the Chris Cuomo deal and move on, because I don't really like the two guys at all. I don't really respect them at all, and I think they kind of had what was coming to them. But just let it be a lesson to people, I guess, especially people in a power role like Andrew Cuomo, and then Chris Cuomo himself too. You just can't do things like that. Now the next thing you can speak on this a little bit, Zach. But we talked about the school shooting last week in the Oxford High School. Did you see where they have arrested the mom and dad and they're in jail now?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, so they had a manhunt for them last Friday.
For the parents?
Yeah, for the parents.
Oh, damn.
Well, I think I have the article up. So, I'm going to read the article here, and then I'll get into my thoughts on this. And this is New York Times as of yesterday. In a tense arraignment on Saturday morning, James and Jennifer Crumbley listened by video conference from separate jail cells as they were charged with involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shootings of the Oxford High School students, who the police say were gunned down by the couple's 15-year-old son, Ethan. As the judge read each of the charges, one for each of the 4 students, she asked Miss Crumbley if she understood. I understand, Miss Crumbley said tearfully. The arraignment, where the couple entered pleas of not guilty, capped an extraordinary day and a half. Wow, my reading is bad. Which the Crumbleys, considered fugitives by the authorities, were captured in Detroit after an intense manhunt and then placed in the same jail facility in Oakland County, Michigan, that held their son, with each of the 3 in isolation. The arrest and the arraignment, along with other information that emerged on Saturday, only began to answer some of the questions about who the Crumbleys are, how they got to this moment, and what could have prevented the tragedy at Oxford High School. Suspicions of the Crumbleys' culpability in the shootings intensified Saturday as details about their apparent attempts to evade law enforcement were revealed. The manhunt ended with their arrest around 1:30 a.m. Saturday. After the authorities received a tip on the couple's location, the Crumbleys were found inside an art studio in a warehouse in Detroit, according to Sheriff Michael Bouchard. But I'm trying to get... So basically they said that they were running away, which they may have been, right? What I originally heard was that the parents had fled right after the school shooting because for safety purposes. Because, people knew who did the shooting, knew that it was their son, and so they left. And that they were either with their attorney, I don't know, but they were coming back. Now, with this manslaughter charge, so just a few of the facts that I saw. They bought this kid the gun the Friday before. Was it a Monday or a Tuesday that the school shooting happened? They bought the kid the gun on Friday. Okay? The kid posted a picture of the gun on social media saying, look at this, my new beauty, or something like that. And it's a 9mm Glock handgun. Or 6 Sauer handgun. And what they're saying is that they basically helped this kid commit the school shooting. Now, this kid, Ethan, whatever the last names were, he had issues. He was painting pictures or drawing pictures of him shooting people or people being shot and saying, help me, or please, stop me from doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like he had issues, okay, leading up into this.
Mm-hmm.
The parents were called into the school either that same day. So the only crazy lady. Okay, so I'm about to get into that. What you just said. So she commented, the rifle I can see for hunting, but a handgun, I don't think so. I'm going to get into that in a second. But the parents were called into the school either the day before or that same day to talk about the son. And they ended up, saying, no, we want the son to stay in school. I don't know if he was about to get suspended or whatever. They said, no, we want him in school. So they lobbied to have him stay in school. And the principal, determined that there was no reason to punish him for whatever it was. Well, hold on. We don't know what was going on. I don't think they said what the issue was that they got called into the school. He was just having issues, okay? He probably getting picked on. I guarantee you that's a lot of it. Probably had issues at home, too. Now, going back to the comment, now they're being charged with manslaughter. We're going, and Only Crazy Lady, I get what you're saying about why would a parent buy a child a handgun. Now, from what I have read, they bought the kid a handgun for Christmas, but they didn't let him have possession of that gun. The parents were keeping that in their room, so it was almost like, this is yours, but we're holding on to this. That's kind of the same thing as if they just bought it for themselves. The parents. There's a lot of households in the United States that own a pistol that the parents keep in their room. I have to speak from experience on this. When it comes to buying guns, my grandfather owned a lot of firearms. And he bought me and my cousins a lot of guns when we were growing up. A lot of the guns he bought, he said, hey, these are yours. We go out and we shoot them. But he would keep them in his possession. Especially when we were growing up, right? Because there's no reason for a child, especially at 15, to be in possession of the firearm. So I do agree with you, but at the same time, Only Crazy Lady, it's not a big deal for someone to go out and buy their child a firearm. It's more so what is the process of that you're going through after you buy the firearm. So if you're letting the kid keep it in his room and actually like, hey, it's yours, here's full authority with the firearm, yes, then that's their fault 100%, and we have a big problem. But just buying a gun for a kid, a pistol or a rifle, whatever, but he doesn't have any control over that firearm, you're just, it's yours when you turn 21 or whatever, but, it's ours until then, basically. You can't, I don't see, we're going down a dangerous road if we're going to start charging, parents for their kid going and doing something like that. Exactly.
I was about to say, to Mr. A's point there, I mean, my parents were the same way. I mean, we had guns in the house, but there was a safe, and my dad knew the combination. And if I ever wanted to use one, see one, show it to a friend, whatever it may be, I had to ask because I didn't know what the password was or what the code was. It's all about gun safety, gun knowledge, gun responsibility. I mean, all that stuff.
Yes, it is. And we have talked about this extensively, especially in the past, maybe ever since the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, about guns. That's been a big part of the show. And it'll probably continue to be a big part of the show just because of how I grew up and how Zach grew up and the things that we like to do. And all the crazy occurrences that happen in our society. But if the parents knew that the kid had a mental issue and was getting bullied and was thinking about doing something like this, and then they went and bought the gun for him, and took him shooting and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, then I can see us, okay, we need to look into this. But if they didn't have any idea and they just went and bought the gun because, you know, the family likes having guns, and they, you know, the mom took them shooting that weekend after they bought it, which isn't a big deal. That's normal. And then the parents learn, you know, oh, now he's got issues. I don't see why we would charge. And then the other thing is they're going to charge this kid as an adult. So we're going to charge. So now we're going to put the parents in jail for something that an adult did. We're going down a slippery slope by charging the parents with manslaughter. Again, if they knew that he had a mental problem before they went and bought the gun, then I'm fine with us pursuing an investigation on them and how that played into the shooting. Now, the only crazy lady says, my dad had weapons around the house. He had a firearm in each room in the house, not in plain sight. And you probably knew, growing up, that you weren't supposed to touch those guns. Because that's how I grew up. We talked about this. We had a strict rule. If I knew what the consequences were if I ever got caught touching any firearm that I wasn't allowed to touch. But just buying a gun for someone, that's not a big deal. That happens all the time, especially for a child. A pistol, an AR-15, a rifle, whatever. It's all about what was the processes that they had in place at the house afterwards. And what was the reasoning to buying the gun? Because now you have to determine, did the parents know that he was willing to do something like this? And they went and bought the gun for maybe the sake that he would need to use it? Now we have a problem. Now we have a huge problem. And that could be how this played out. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what evidence comes out. But if they didn't know anything, then I think it's wrong to charge them. And we're just going to go down a big slippery slope with this. And, you know, what do you think, Zach? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with you. I think you're starting to step into the realm of the what ifs. Like, what if the parents did do that? What if they would have done this instead? What if? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I mean, I agree that as an adult, as a parent of a child, regardless if you know if your child's having issues or not, you definitely, you know, if you have a firearm in the house, one, everybody should know. Everybody should understand the rules. Everybody should be aware of where it's located. Now, as far as the children being able to have access to it, I don't agree with that per se. Because normally kids aren't home alone. And if they are, there's, you know, normally a babysitter, you know, yada, yada, whatever. So I think that in this situation was a failure on the parents' part. That I don't know how you address that. I really don't. I don't know if you penalize somebody that badly.
Well, they're being held each on a $500,000 bond. Here's my other problem with this too now. We're getting into a justice system that wants to take revenge on someone immediately the day after an incident happens without any details. They did this with Kyle Rittenhouse, and he had to sit in jail for 83 days or something, 87 days. And he shouldn't even have been on trial. He should have never went to jail, period. But they went and charged him with murder literally the next morning. They charged him with 2 counts of murder. And they didn't even have an investigation. You can't do that. And they're doing it now because people are upset about the shooting. And I get it. I 100% agree. Like, this is crazy that we have these kids shooting up schools. But yeah, to go and arrest the parents because they bought them the gun and charge them with manslaughter and hold them on a $500,000 bond. We weren't even holding the guy that ran the car into Kenosha, the Kenosha parade. He was on $1,000 bond, and he was on bond for literally running his girlfriend or wife over with a fucking car for doing the same thing. And I said this, when you list your bond, they look at a few different factors. Are you a violent criminal? What's your criminal record? Are you a flight risk? Things like that. Well, the parents, I think the mom has like a few misdemeanors and they each have like a DUI and that's it. Not DUIs are bad, but I'm just saying compared to the other guy that was a registered sex offender, a freaking, very violent criminal, just ran someone over with his car previously and was out. He got $1,000 bond and he went and killed 8 people. Like directly killed 8 people. And now the parents here are on $500,000 bonds because, and I get, they were flight risks, they ran away, but things aren't even here. But to go and just say, we're going to charge them with manslaughter on each account for something that their son did, and their son's being tried as an adult. And I pulled up an article here, and it says, what prosecutors say about the parents' involvement. The Crumleys were each charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter after the events of November 30th when authorities say their 15-year-old son Ethan fatally shot 4 people. In a news conference Friday, prosecutors said James Crumley had purchased the gun used in the shooting, a 6-hour 9mm pistol, on Black Friday as an early Christmas gift for his son. And that's the other thing, too. Like, they bought it on a day that a lot of people are buying guns. Like, this isn't like an out-of-the-ordinary purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that prosecutors said Crumley stored the gun unlocked in a drawer in their bedroom, a characterization that defense lawyers disputed Saturday after the purchase. But before the shooting, school authorities twice raised concerns about Ethan's behavior to his parents. Prosecutors said, including in a meeting with them earlier that Tuesday. So they went and met with the school that morning, and the kid would have had the gun on him at that point. They didn't check him. Mm-hmm. They want to get mad at the school for not checking him about a firearm. Like, do you just... But then again, he was drawing pictures of people being shot. So would that, justify searching the kid's backpack to see if he has the gun? I don't know. So Mr. A says if he's charged as an adult, then the parents can most likely be charged with accomplice to murder. My dad was also battle scarred. I'm just reading the comments. I can't give an opinion because I don't know all the facts. Yes. Yep. They look at all that stuff for bond and even sentences. Whoa. Okay, so I have a friend who did time for manslaughter because her daughter drove drunk and wrecked her car, killing a passenger. And was she the one that provided the alcohol, I'm assuming? I would imagine she was underage and... No. Then how did she get manslaughter? How does that happen? And going back to Mr. A's point... If the kid is an adult, then he acts as an adult. I don't know what the law is, but I imagine this is what the defense is going to argue, for the parents at least. Because it was her car? Was the mom in the car too? What's up, revolutionary bro? What's going on? Oh my gosh. So that's California. That's crazy. But going back to Mr. A's comment about what I think the defense will probably end up arguing is, if you're going to charge him as an adult, then he acts as an adult. Then the parents don't necessarily control his intentions. I don't know. I imagine that's going to be somewhere in the argument. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. He's 15. Right? He's being charged as an adult because he committed a mass murder. So it's kind of, he's a matter of circumstance there. But, oh my God, 2 years because her daughter wrecked her car and was drunk. That's wild. See and I have a problem. But again, if the parents knew that the kid was mental prior, like drawing these pictures of shooting people and was mental prior to him getting the gun, then yes, let's investigate the manslaughter charges. But just buying someone a gun on Black Friday and you're keeping it in your room as the parent in a drawer, and the kid decides to go in there and steal the firearm out of the parent's room and go commit a school shooting, I don't like the road that we're going down with that. I don't. Because now every time something happens with a firearm, they're going to be looking not to just charge the person that committed the crime, but anyone that he even knows that lives in the same house. And I don't think that's right. I'll be curious to see where this goes. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a weird thing, and but it does all go back to why did he do it in the first place? Why are these kids so screwed up in the head that they're willing to go and kill their classmates? Well, a lot of it probably derives from home. I guarantee you they had issues going on at home that fed into it, and then he was getting picked on at school probably, and had issues at school, and we want to look at the firearm. It's not the firearm's fault. It's not the firearm's fault. There's other reasons for why he went and killed his classmates. If he didn't do it with a gun, he would have done it some other way. That's just a matter of fact. If someone wants to hurt someone or kill someone, they're going to find a way to do it. Just like the Taliban, or not the Taliban, but Al-Qaeda found out how to kill 3,000 Americans with airplanes. Not one firearm was used in that process. Maybe to hijack the planes, I'm not sure. But not one firearm dysfunctionality. Yeah, revolutionary, bro. Now, one firearm was used on 9/11. So they're going to find a way. Now, does anyone know what tomorrow is? Zach, do you know what tomorrow is? I wanted to bring this up earlier.
Tuesday?
You're a smart ass. No, tomorrow, Zach. What's the date, Zach? This man. What's the date tomorrow, Zach?
12/7.
Okay.
Tuesday.
What happened on December 7th, Zach? One of the largest events in American history. Probably changed the world.
You're making me look like a really bad person.
You do if you don't know this. 80 years ago today. Or tomorrow, sorry.
Sounds like a really big day.
Pearl Harbor's out.
Sorry.
Pearl Harbor.
Apologize. My mind.
Tomorrow, I just wanted to bring this up on the show because I do know tomorrow is the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And we can look back, and obviously that was a day that changed not just the United States, but the entire world, because it really pissed the United States off. And he said, yes, I'm smart today. Yes, it is Pearl Harbor, and I'm shocked on how many people don't know that tomorrow's the Pearl Harbor anniversary. Zach, how do you not know these? Like, aren't you into that kind of stuff?
Dude, I was not a big history buff. I excelled in math and science.
Do you know what June 6th is, Zach?
Pretty hot day.
I don't think it was very hot in the event that I'm talking about.
Was it wintertime? Because if so, that means it's probably in the southern hemisphere.
It's D-Day, Zach.
Oh, okay. Are you sure it wasn't hot on D-Day?
Well, it was cloudy and gloomy, and they rushed the beach at like 6 in the morning. So I don't think it was there. I don't know. I don't think it was like extremely hot, and it's up in England or in France. So it's probably a cooler day, stormy day.
Again, I was not a history buff. Not
It's despicable.
Not where I excelled.
And that's our Zach is the problem with our society. We don't know history.
It's me, guys.
It's Zach.
I caused all the issues.
Freaking problem.
That's just me.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up real quick because that is tomorrow. You know, and obviously, you know, we'll have some memorial stuff tomorrow for it. But the next thing I wanted to discuss, Zach, is the U.S. economy. And not just the economy, but some cool stats that I found that I didn't even realize. So, last Friday, we had a bad jobs report come out, and the markets showed it. Last week wasn't a great week for the stock market, and I think they were anticipating about 500,000 jobs created, but there was only like roughly 250,000 that were created, like 50% of what they thought. Is a poor estimate. I want to say this. I'm not going to blame Joe Biden for everything in the economy. The economy works in cycles. Okay? So as much as people are going to hammer Biden and all that stuff, yes, the president is going to do things that hurt or help the economy. But to sit here and say that a bad jobs report on 1 month so far, you know, I can't remember what it was the month prior or the month prior to that. So I need to go back and look. And now if it's like a trend here, then we got an issue. But, you know, 50% of what they anticipated is not very good. But there are some other things, though, that does have to do with policies that Joe Biden has implemented that I think are very overlooked. And I was on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and I'm going to try to put some of these up onto the screen here so the people on Facebook can see it. But so you have real earnings. Now, real earnings are adjusted for inflation. So that is, they're going to take the nominal earnings or average household earnings, whatever you want to use, okay? And that's how much each house is earning. And they're going to measure that and see, is that increasing? Now, overall, earnings per household or whatever has increased quite a bit, okay? So people are making more money. However, real earnings are adjusted for inflation. And that fell 0.5% last month. The Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, Zach, increased 0.9%. So the problem is that even though you're looking at more in your paycheck, your money's worth less. And that's where people are getting their tax increases. It's not a direct, like, we're going to raise tax rates on you. It's, you're going to feel it with inflation. But that's where the left and the right, that's where we have problems with the understanding of how things work. The left is going to argue that, we're not going to raise a single bit of taxes. No one's going to pay more in taxes if you make under $450,000. That's wrong. Everyone's paying more in taxes because prices go up, you pay more in a sales tax for one. But two, you're making less money as far as value is concerned. That's a tax. Maybe it's not like a direct tax, but it's still a tax. And people are making less money now. The other statistic that I got into was called the quit rate. Now, this is the first time I had actually seen this. But I'm going to try and pull the chart up here. And Mr. A and the other people that are on Podbeam, you can go back, and I always upload the video element after we're done with the live show. So you can go back and see this chart. But let me go back and pull up the quit rate. If I can find it again. Employment rates, quit rate, where's that? I thought I had it pulled up. But this graph is very eye-opening. And this is how the rate that people are quitting their jobs. Basically, that's what this is measuring. Maybe I have it in a picture. But it was I was shocked when I saw this. Let's see. Zach's over there clicking away.
That's right.
I must have pulled it up here on the... There it is. All right. So I'm going to add image. I'll have it pulled up for the people on Facebook here in a second. I should have had all this ready, and I apologize. But this quit rate graph is just crazy. And what this is showing, it's the rate that people are quitting their jobs, and it's pretty level. Obviously, it had a dip during COVID. Now, it had a dip during COVID because no one was going to quit their jobs. They got laid off. And if they didn't get laid off, then they're not going to just quit that job, right? Then it skyrockets back up, Zach. And then when Biden gets into office, it goes down a little bit, and then all of a sudden it just skyrockets. Like it goes up almost a 1.5%.
And does the same thing as his what was it? Not votes. Was it votes?
Yeah. No. Okay. Yes. Except imagine his votes were like level and then skyrockets. Yes, but this one's like up and down, because it shows you where COVID was. But yes, same concept, right? It's pretty level, but it increases over time. So like it goes back to 2011, and it measures every year since 2011, and over time it goes up. But when Trump's in office from 17 to 20. Really, if you take out 20 because of COVID, it stays kind of level. Like during Obama's term, it's increasing the full time. Then Trump, it's kind of leveled out, and then it has a severe drop. No one was quitting their job during COVID. But then when Biden is in office, I mean, it is a steep incline, and that is because of policy that he has implemented. Or trying to implement. That is a matter of fact. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you, they talk about these socialist countries over in Norway and Sweden, right? Did you know, you always hear about our national debt with the United States. Did you know, I'm going to put this on the screen too. And this on the what is this one off of? The OAEC or whatever. That Norway, these countries, these socialist countries, their household debt as a percent of discretionary income is like double what the United States is. So as far as, Zach, you own your house, right? And you pay a mortgage, that's like debt. And then you take that and you add up all that debt that you have, that you owe, and divide it and you make it into a percentage of whatever your discretionary income is, your spending income that you take home. Mm-hmm. And theirs is like double what the United States is. I never would have thought that. I would have thought that, hell, everyone has debt in the United States, right? No. Yeah. You have Sweden. This is at the top. The United States is like the bottom middle of the half of the graph. Then you have the highest countries are Sweden, Korea, Australia, Switzerland, Netherlands, Norway, and Denmark. All of those socialist countries over there that everyone wants to idolize. Oh, the healthcare spending, all that stuff. Here's the other thing. Norway spends 25% of their GDP towards social spending, which is, Medicare and Social Security and welfare and all that stuff. The United States spends 18%. Did you know that with NATO, Zach, you know what NATO is?
Yeah.
Okay, so NATO spending, the United States spends 3.5% of their GDP as NATO spending. Do you know what the other countries spend? Norway spends 1.8%. Now that's a percentage, which means that it's not even a fair share. A fair share would be, if the United States is paying like, $100 billion more than everyone, but everyone's paying the same percentage. But the United States is paying double what everyone else is. This is what Trump was actually trying to fix. People want to say, oh my God, we can't pass this, stimulus package, or not stimulus, the infrastructure deal. How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? Well, they don't know how they're going to pay for it is the problem. But I can tell you one way to pay for it would be to pay our fair share in the NATO spending. That's how you get half the money. We could save $400 billion if we paid the same percentage as everyone else. We would save $400 billion a year.
So why don't you think they do that?
I don't know. I need to read more into it, but I know that this was a big thing with Trump. He was like, we are spending it's not that we're spending more than everyone, because that's normal, but we're spending more proportionately than everyone. Because, it's, if you're a bigger country, you pay more money, right? It's like a flat tax rate. If everyone's paying 10% tax, and you make $100 and I make $1,000, I'm going to pay, $100 and you're going to pay $10. Right? But we're still both paying 10%, a fair share of our amount. We're not. I'm paying 35% and you're paying 10%. For whatever reason. But that needs to be changed. I don't get that. Stupid spending right there. And I don't know if it's a right or left thing, but that's something that we need to fix. Whoever's in Congress needs to fix that. If you want to spend money here on the United States, see, that's the thing is we want to help everyone else out outside of the United States before we help ourselves.
Yeah, that's something that's extremely annoying.
We want to give illegals $500,000, and we want to help these countries, protect these countries from getting taken over by Russia and Germany again. Well, Germany obviously is a part of NATO, so they don't have that problem. But you know what I'm saying. So we're going to spend all of our money. When does it come time that we start collecting the bill for what these countries owe us? I mean, if we go back to World War I and World War II, we saved a lot of these countries that wouldn't be around now if we didn't do that. I'd say particularly 90% of the world. How does that work? Yes, Paul Anthony. Fuck Joe Biden. But how does that? How is this? This is my problem with the government. This is my problem with Democrats, with Republicans, with whoever is in office. Is for whatever reason, and this is why I think Trump was so appealing, because Trump was about making America great, right? He literally, I remember this being a big deal, was when he was over there, was bitching and complaining about, why are we paying double in a percentage for NATO? We can protect ourselves. We could conquer the world if we wanted to. Why the fuck are we allowing, these countries to get away with it? Here's the other thing too, going back to the spending. So I said Norway spends 25% of their GDP on their social spending, right? Do you know what that is? That's $90 billion a year is what Norway spends on their healthcare and all that stuff. The socialist stuff that they do. $90 billion. Their GDP is only $362 billion. We would save more money by paying just the equal percentage in NATO. We would save more money than the entire worth of Norway. We could buy Norway and pay it off in a year. I'm serious. $405 billion is what we would save if we just paid the same 1.85% as every other country. or what? It's right. Everyone's a little different. I think Greece is the only country that pays like 3% or something close to us. Greece. I think they do that because they got bailed out by the European Union. So that maybe is why they do that. But these other countries, one country pays like 0.5%. And the countries that are paying less are the ones that need the protection and need to spend because they're the ones that got taken over during World War II. Except Germany, they were the ones doing the taking over. But why don't we make Germany pay all of it? It's their fucking fault that we had NATO in the first place. I mean, what? Am I missing something here? But this is why Trump didn't appeal to the swamp, as you could call it, right? But the people that are in office, and this is Republicans and Democrats. Look, people that have it or that are new watching this, I criticize everyone. No one is safe. Just because I'm a conservative doesn't mean you're safe because you're a Republican. Fuck you. But this is the problem is we let this stuff slide. Like we could say $405 billion. Hell, that's a quarter of Joe Biden's infrastructure bill right there. I'm not saying I agree with the infrastructure bill, but you know I'd like to at least have the money to pay for it. Since he passed it, I don't want it adding on to the deficit, which it will, and it's going to add debt, and it's going to impact the economy. It may have some good, but it's going to have some bad too. Why not have the money to pay for it? Why not just reinvest it into our own military here at home? Or our own military and the stuff that we do overseas, just our military? Why don't we make other countries work for this? Why do we... We don't need to be the police of the world. We just need to make sure that no one fucks with us. And that when someone does fuck with us, it's the last time they do it. I've never been one for policing the world. The one comment I agreed with Joe Biden was during his whole Afghanistan shit show. You know, he did make a good comment and said, you know, why should we die? Why should American soldiers die for Afghans that don't want to fight for their own country? That was the best thing he's ever said as a president. The greatest thing he ever said as a president. And he's right. Why should Americans die for people that don't want to defend their country themselves? I agree. Now, I don't agree how he handled Afghanistan at all. He could have done a lot different. But it just goes back to we want to help everyone else out, and we're not helping ourselves out. You know, let's reevaluate this and restructure certain things, free up some money that we're wasting overseas, and use it as leverage, but also reinvest it into the country. So, you know, those are just a few things with the U.S. economy that I wanted to hit on, and we're right at the hour mark, Zach. So we'll go, but that's kind of the talk today. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to have some more on the Elaine Maxwell case. I was shocked, Zach, how many downloads we got on just a little bit we talked about with the Ghislaine Maxwell deal.
Really?
Yeah, but but it's hard because they're covering it up. And I get why they are. They're not doing live stream because they want to protect the identities of the people that are testifying. Mm-hmm. But you know, I think there needs to be better coverage on it. I want to know everything that's going on with these higher ups. You know, I want to know everyone that was on that fucking plane. Mm-hmm. Everyone that was on the island.
Yeah.
You know, and
I'm with you on that one.
I actually saw today, Zach, that Vegas has betting odds on whether or not she gets suicided.
Yeah, no, I saw something today where somebody had put Ghislaine Maxwell did not kill herself.
Already? Oh, and did it have like a date? I saw something that said, I saw another meme that said Ghislaine Maxwell, R.I.P. or something like that, Ghislaine Maxwell, and had her birthday, and then it had dash sometime next week as the as the death date.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's funny, but yeah, I think Vegas actually has betting odds and an over under on how long she will go without getting murdered.
That's ridiculous.
And I looked at the bookkeeper and they were like, normally we don't like having these odds, but we had a poll and you fucking guys are bad. That is bad.
Hell yeah.
But you know what I would do? Now, I know they're not going to do this, but if I was the authorities, like the United States government, now the FBI, they are not trustworthy at all, but I'm just saying, if they wanted to get all the information out, I would say, look, Elaine, or however you say her name, Ghislaine, whatever you say her name, here's what I would do. I would we're going to say that you're guilty, and you're going to get a sentence. You're going to get life in prison. But you're going to testify, and you're going to give up every bit of information that you know on these people. Okay, that was involved. And we're either going to say that you died in prison or committed suicide or whatever, right? But you're going to go through this trial. You're not getting out of jail. And we're going to somehow ship you out of the country. We're going to give you some money to live on, okay? And you are never going to be heard or seen from again, but you're going to be a free woman, but you have to give us every bit of information that you know. Mm-hmm. So I would make it look like she's in prison or that she's dead. I'd make that deal with her, and then I'd hammer all the people that were involved with it. Because she knows. She knows everyone that was messing around with them kids.
She probably does. I just wonder what's going to happen.
Well, she's just going to get life in jail. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
So Eric Kirk says it's not a matter of if on Maxwell snitching on those Epstein had in his inner circle, more of a matter of when. Well, what do you mean, Eric? Are you saying when is in the next few weeks? Because they said this trial is going to be 6 weeks long, or in her lifetime? Are you saying that she's not going to snitch during this trial? Well, yeah, the sooner the better for sure. But they have a book. They have a black book I've been hearing about. Why? And apparently they have this. Why are they not allowing this in the trial? Are they allowing this? I haven't been able to find very much. I've been trying to find the transcripts to the trial. Been trying to find whatever. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. But there's literally not a lot. All that is some quotes from the pilot that testified, and then some other people, girls that testified, and that's it. They're really keeping this thing, pretty tight knit. And look, any other trial involving, sex trafficking and child molestation and all that stuff, they deserve to be buried under the prison. But with this one, there's a lot of people that are involved that we need to know about. And it's kind of crazy how you have Hollywood all plays into this stuff. You have it for whatever reason, and we know these people in Hollywood are just freaking crazy out of their mind anyway. But I don't get what the whole deal is about having sex with minors. Like, am I missing something? Is my thought backwards on this? That's wrong.
No, it's not.
Why is this so common? When I think of like sex trafficking, like I think of like prostitution, but not with minors. I don't. The craziest thing is that Alec Baldwin did not pull anything. Alec Baldwin did not pull the trigger. Also, I did not go to Epstein's Island. The plane flew on its own there. You had no control. That's funny. That'll probably be an excuse. Like Clinton, I don't know where that plane was fucking going. I just got on it. I'm just here. The evidence is against, Eric says the evidence is against her, I can't read today. The evidence against her is overwhelming in the case being proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Jury would likely to convict. Well, I never doubted the fact that they were going to convict her. Like, I know she's going to jail. The problem is why it's everyone else involved. Because this is truly one of those situations where if she's the only one that goes to jail for this, I'm going to be pissed. I'm waiting for this crazy big ending to this. Everyone is. Because we know that he was... Go ahead.
That's not going to happen, though.
It could.
You know that's not going to happen. It should, but it's not. You know that.
I mean...
We all know that.
Like, Prince Andrew was kicked out of the royal family over this. So, obviously, like, there's some big things going on. You know, I mean... But... But going back to the sex trafficking thing, it's all about supply and demand, right? For there to be a crime, there has to be a demand for that crime to take place. For you to commit murder, there's got to be a reason. For you to traffic minors out, there has to be demand for people wanting to have sex with those minors, and that's just crazy to me.
All right, as wonderful as this conversation is,
well, you can get off. I may keep going.
Yeah, you keep ripping. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Now I'm fired up because this is something I do like talking about is the Ghislaine Maxwell. So Zach is gone, but that's all right, guys. He has an hour, but I have time. So Bill Clinton also can't escape what he did to Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Will. Eric, can you call in because you know a lot more about this than I do. So we're going to get Eric on the phone in here. What's up, Eric?
Michael. Those names are Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Jennifer Flowers, and Paula Jones.
So...
You know, and
these are all the
enabled Bill's bad boy behavior.
And these are all the girls, right?
The women from years ago that Bill, abused, but Monica Lewinsky, from what I've heard, that Bill's relationship with Monica was a consensual relationship, and Hillary knew it was going on, but ultimately it was Linda Tripp who ratted Monica out.
Gotcha. But okay, but this is with Bill Clinton now. Let's move on to current because Bill Clinton's still involved with the Epstein deal.
Yeah. And like the portrait of Bill wearing Monica's blue dress. Guess who had possession of that?
Wasn't
Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah. See, I saw a documentary last year.
That right there should tell you something.
Bill Clinton did not have any sexual relationships with that woman 10 minutes later. I'm sorry I had sexual relations with that woman. Sounds like Joe Biden. Paul Anthony, if you haven't seen my little parody videos on the Facebook page, go watch. About there's one about, it's titled Statements That Joe Biden and Kamala Harris Wish They Didn't Make. And it's all those statements that, or not all of them because there's a lot, but, statements they've made where they contradicted themselves. Oh, he said, I love him. Yeah. So I'm glad you love him. The one I made yesterday, I was a little about whether or not, Eric, if you haven't seen them, go watch the parody videos. Because the one I made last night with Ilhan Omar, I was kind of like, screw it. And I uploaded it. But, but with the Elaine Maxwell deal, I just can't fathom the fact that there is so much demand in this world to have sex with someone under the age of 18. And these aren't just like 20-year-olds or 21-year-olds paying to have sex with girls under 18. These are 50, 60, 70-year-old men.
Oh, yeah.
The crying scene. I'm glad you like them, Paul Anthony. I'm going to keep making them. They come to me and I upload them. And that one's actually going kind of viral right now. And I had another one that went viral. But Eric, now, did you see the documentary on Netflix last year when all this kind of happened, Eric, about the Epstein deal?
Don't think I've paid much attention to that, but I know there was a big controversy last year on Netflix, that Cuties series that came out of France, which appears to exploit minors in that adult entertainment business.
Yeah, so you have that. Yeah, those are the dancers. Yeah, and it's weird, right? They were in another country. Good.
That right there is like, yeah, well, like that French series Cuties right there. To me, that here in America, that would be like child exploitation.
Maybe. Have you seen? There's a Well, no, I can't say that because they're not bad. But yes, well, you're saying it here in America would be child exploitation. Would it or would it not be? Because they were playing that show here in the United States.
That is true, and you have to wonder why the producers and powers that be are not being investigated or being brought up on any kind of criminal charges.
I get censored on Facebook. Okay, for little videos I make that are kind of pretty much true, and they're just jokes. But Netflix can have 10-year-old girls shaking their ass, and TikTok's just as bad. I had my account that was going crazy,
so is Twitter
viral.
So
Twitter did now, yeah.
YouTube owner, Google, and Twitch owner, Amazon. I mean, they're just as bad, if not worse.
So I haven't run any. I know YouTube is as bad. I haven't run into YouTube because I'm not monetized on YouTube. Is probably why. Facebook, I've had issues.
They'd probably still want to censor you and ban you for no reason.
So,
like if you look at TikTok, John DeVito got his account banned from over there because they didn't like it that he was doing coverage on the Maxwell trial, and then of course Jester got his like Doomsday Podcast original account banned, that he had to start up a 2.0 account, and then to a Patriot Mama, she's currently on her 16th TikTok account, and the more they keep banning her accounts, she's turning around and starting up another one and getting even more louder.
So
and
what I ran into on TikTok, and so I know Paul Anthony has seen the videos, and Mr. A, if you haven't seen him, go on Facebook, and Eric, I know you try to stay on Facebook too, but go on. I sent it to you guys that day on your podcast, and he watched it. But those little parody videos I made, I was cutting up the clips, right? Because it may be like 3 or 4 clips in the video on Facebook, so I was cutting them up, and I was making those on YouTube or onto TikTok. I went from I went to Alabama before Thanksgiving, like the Friday. It's a 5-hour drive. In 5 hours, I had gained 1,500 followers and had 200,000 views on the videos, right? They're just going wild. Now, before this, I had already uploaded some videos that were against their standards, so I had like a 3-day ban or a 1-day ban, whatever. But the video I had just done was just a video of me. It was my own original content. And I criticized Rachel Maddow for a tweet she had talking about a guy that got caught with a loaded gun during the January 6th riot, right? And she said that she heard the gun had 2 bullets in the chamber. And I'm like, so they're paying her $30 million a year to convince, 48 million adult gun owners in the United States that a gun can have 2 bullets in the same chamber. and that's literally what I said in the video. And 3 days later, they banned my account for that. Complete outright ban.
Right.
And then I go and I create a new account. I upload the same videos. They haven't deleted those videos, but those videos I was getting 100,000, 200,000 views on, I only have a couple hundred on now.
So they're working the numbers, it seems.
Well, they're shadow banning it. They're and Facebook has tried. So Facebook won't monetize my account now because they say I lack original content because of those parody videos, and I got that. But 90% of the videos I have on Facebook is just me in this podcast.
Right.
And what it is that, but they haven't. Facebook has not taken these videos down. I'm very shocked because they are borderline. They're funny as hell. But, they're.
Well,
I've seen a lot less get taken down.
yeah.
But they haven't taken them down, but they won't monetize the account.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and another thing, like still like hovering over Facebook is that one whistleblower, Frances Haugen, and Facebook's probably going to consider Frances Haugen's name to be a bad word because she's that woman who appeared on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago and testified before Congress about like their like dirty practices, and then she's also been making the rounds to like European parliaments, making her case to them about Facebook's lack of transparency and how that they were trying to influence last year's election, whether like voter like ballot fraud happened in like Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and other states that and I'm all about having the forensic audits done in elections to ensure our because of a thing called checks and balances to ensure that that people who go to vote are following the law and that voters who vote in elections are who they say they are.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 100% with you. Now, I'm gonna hit you with a conspiracy theory here, and I don't know if you've heard this. Now, this was floating around Nashville because I'm in Murfreesboro. We're like 25 miles outside Nashville, right? And you remember last Christmas Day, the bombing downtown Nashville,
Yes.
Wiped out all of what's the street, 2nd Avenue or whatever it was.
Like the AT&T Center.
Yes. So you may have heard this. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I did float this one around. Is you had a guy that was supposedly mad at the government about spying on people. Mm-hmm. He goes down and he sets these warnings with this massive bomb. I mean, it completely, I saw it wiped the street out. There's a restaurant, Rodizio Grill, the Brazilian steakhouse, that I go to every Valentine's Day with Britt. And, it just wiped all of that out. But no one was hurt or, one of the cops, I think, was, percussion with their ears, but no one really hurt or killed. And he's telling everyone to evacuate. He's the only person that died because he was inside the car. But he blows up the AT&T thing and come to find out that these voting machines and all that were connected to this building. Mm-hmm. It was just a little sketchy. Because that guy could have...
But they're going to... And then that suicide bomber who detonated that bomb there in front of like the AT&T building in downtown Nashville. Mm-hmm. How the media is going to claim that he was just a lone wolf, but I think you and I would call BS to that because we would really be interested in finding out who he was in contact with prior to that, and if he had any other outside influences that we don't know about. And if you come into the It's Doomsday podcast on Sunday evenings, 10 p.m. Eastern time, on previous shows, Jester has talked about say like when the Columbine shooting happened back in 1999, he and I share this belief that we would be curious about like Eric Harrison, Dylan Klebold, the shooters in that, who took the lives of like 17 other people before they took their own lives. Who were like their influences, like inspiring them to carry out that massacre, and I would imagine like with Harrison, Klebold's family and any close friends associated with them, I would be curious as to what did they know and when did they know it.
Yeah. Again,
to like European parliaments.
I try to stay away from the conspiracy stuff, but I'm not, close to the thought either. As
conspiracies at all. I would think of that as perfectly legitimate questions worth asking, even if that people don't feel comfortable talking about it. And another podcast friend of mine, Jeff Moore of the More Money podcast, would say you have to do what makes you most uncomfortable because life is about taking risks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, this goes back to, and I don't know I know you're here kind of at the beginning of the podcast today, but we talked about the school shooting in Michigan. And now that you're on the phone,
also being charged as well, I notice.
Yeah, so you're a little more talkative than Zach was because Zach didn't know a whole lot about it. But what I said, my opinion on this is we're going down a slippery slope if we're going to charge the parents with manslaughter, depending on what the circumstances were before they purchased the gun. Because they bought the gun on Black Friday as a Christmas present. And I was saying personally, my grandfather bought me and my cousin and stuff a lot of guns growing up. The parents kept the gun in their room. So it's not like they just let this kid have free reign with the pistol. It's kind of like, here's your present, we'll go shoot, but we have control of the firearm. Now, did they know that he was having mental issues beforehand? And that he was drawing these pictures about shooting people beforehand? Because if they did, then yes, now you have a case that they kind of, did they really need to go buy him a gun? But if they just bought him a gun and they didn't know anything until after they bought the gun, which they went into the school that Tuesday, right before the incident, and talked to the principal about him and stuff like that. But that's not a reason to charge him with manslaughter. If they just learned about all this stuff going on, why are the parents in on this? Why? Because they purchased their son a firearm? There's a lot of people that do that. And now every shooting from here on out, we're just going to prosecute the parents or anyone that even lives with the person. And I don't like that. I don't like the road we're going down with that.
Right.
And I had another thought too. Let me remember what it was, but that's an original thought. I don't know what
makes a great point in chat.
What'd she say? The school is just as responsible. Why was the boy taken back to class? Yes. So from what I've read is they called the parents in because of whatever issue the kid was having. I think what it was, the teacher caught him drawing this stuff, about shooting people, saying, "Hey, help me," and don't let me do this, whatever it was, like some graphic pictures. And I'm sure the kid was being picked on a lot at school, because I guarantee you that's a part of it. And then he also had issues at home. The teacher saw the drawing, so they sent him the thing. The parents lobbied to have the kid stay in class, and the principal determined that there wasn't need for any kind of punishment. And let me ask you what you guys see. I don't know if you guys have kids or if you're married. I don't have kids. I'm young. I'm not married, but this is just my perspective. Okay, this is just my perspective. Do you punish a kid and suspend him because he's drawing pictures that show mental illness? And he,
or I would wonder why, like a counselor or a social worker or like a DFACS Child Protective Services Agency, wasn't notified.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that should have happened that didn't happen, obviously. A lot of, but putting the parents in jail and then having them on a $500,000 bond, and hell, we didn't even do that with the Kenosha guy. He was on a $1,000 bond for, and I'm repeating.
Well, then
Go ahead.
Well, then I think like Kyle Rittenhouse, after he was acquitted, he really, of course, came out, talking about like the quack of a lawyer that Lynn Wood is, like a big QAnon lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Waukesha, terrorists plowing through a parade, and then the media wants to double down and triple down on that there was nothing no like terrorism involved in that. But it's okay to call like Kyle Rittenhouse like a white supremacist, which I think, like Nick Sandmann before him, I think he's really going to take the media who like smeared him and stuff to the cleaners.
100%. Here's the thing with Rittenhouse. Here's what I would do is I would have a set amount for all the people that defame me before the trial, right? Like, whatever it be, $500,000, right? And you split that up among CNN did this, MSNBC, blah, blah, blah. But now he still has people like Arizona State and the socialist groups at Arizona State that are lobbying and got him kicked out of school. He now owns Arizona State, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, and I really hope he really sues the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Because I think he could probably put them out of business.
Yeah.
And probably have their like school accreditation taken away from them.
I don't know if they can go that far. These universities got a lot of money. They basically print money. I mean, but what I would do is I'd sue them, and I would try and have a clause where they have to rename the nursing building Rittenhouse School of Nursing, or I would build the biggest, nicest self-defense school right across the frickin' street of campus. Just to rub it in their face.
Oh yeah.
But going back to the Rittenhouse deal, like you still have Joy Reid and all these people literally making defamative statements even after the trial. Every time someone does, I tack on another $20 or $30 million. Bam, lawsuit right there. Every freaking statement from here on out. I just write it down. I'd add it all up.
And I think probably another interesting question worth pondering, I guess, to anybody listening to this on download or listening to us live. These media personalities who spew such rhetoric and nonsense, whether it's like Joy Reid or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon and it could even be people over at Fox News like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Judge Jeanine. And I mean, do they really truly mean what they say, or are they just getting paid to spew this nonsense? And I think people should really think long and hard about this.
It's a good question, right? What is the intent on some of these anchors? Are they just taking the other side because they're the opposite? Because they, it's and you see that a lot, right? You see that with any kind of subject, and that's a problem. That's why we have such partisan media. Is because if CNN says something, Fox says the exact opposite. They don't agree. And the thing that helps Fox out is that CNN, for whatever reason, has gone down this very bad road of reporting, and Fox ends up being right more times than CNN is right. So it makes it more credible. I think that you have people at Fox that truly believe it. Go ahead.
And then now over at CNN, Chris Cuomo just found himself out of a job. Now he's probably waiting in the unemployment line.
Yes, both of them are. And we hit on this earlier too. Here's my problem with Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo is I just never liked them as people. Okay? I don't like the way they conduct themselves, the way they talk. They just... Tucker Carlson, when you see him in videos outside of...
yeah.
When you see Tucker Carlson outside...
But... And then, like, if you look at, like, Mark Dice videos on YouTube...
Kyle.
He affectionately calls Chris Cuomo Fredo.
Yeah, now I don't get the Frito thing. That's from The Godfather, isn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an insulting ethnic term and Chris Cuomo also being of Italian descent as well. But I think if you look at like Mark Dice, I think he basically just resorts to calling Chris Cuomo Fredo based on Chris Cuomo's so-called ignorance.
Yeah, look, Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo. So I didn't really know who either of them were because I don't watch CNN until last year. Okay. When Andrew Cuomo was
CNN
given his
is
daily
garbage,
briefings.
just like MSLSD.
Yeah. Like when Andrew Cuomo was giving his old press briefings every day, he was basically competing with Trump. Because Trump, think about this, Trump got up every day and spoke on COVID. He spoke on a topic that no one really knew anything about. Mm-hmm. He answered questions, said a lot of wrong stuff, but he still got up there and spoke. Now you have Joe Biden.
Right.
And took questions. Yeah, Joe Biden gets up there and speaks on stuff that we know, facts, like that has been, going on. Like, he's not even speaking on anything that's like a speculation. And he still doesn't even answer questions. And when he does, it's all scripted. But you had Trump would get up there, he'd stand up as the president of the United States and talk. And then you had Andrew Cuomo would sit down. I didn't like that. He would sit down and have a press conference every day. First of all, I live in Tennessee. You live in Georgia. Why the fuck do we care about what New York has going on? Mm-hmm. But it was nationally televised.
And a news personality interviewing his own brother, who was like a governor of a state. You would think that in terms of journalistic ethics. That interviewing a family member that is an elected politician
every day
or big like public figure that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
What he did.
We're not even talking about once in a while. We're talking about like every day. He had him on, and they would joke around and
it was all shits and giggles.
Yeah. I mean, I never respected them as people. Just from when I saw Chris Cuomo hold his primetime slot from the House because he had COVID and tell everyone, you got to wear a mask. This is the worst thing ever. I'm so sick, blah, blah, blah. And the next fucking day, you're out with 20 people inspecting the house that you're building. First of all, you got to be smarter than that, right? Like, you're a famous TV personality. People are going to recognize you, and people watch you, especially in New York.
Yeah.
How do you allow yourself to go out and be subject to that? So it's not very smart. And then you have Andrew Cuomo, who, to this day, it's one of these things, it's like he stepped down because of this sexual assault stuff, but he was basically committed mass murder. Like there's bigger things that he did legally than the sexual stuff. But he will never have to reap the consequences of that. He had to step down. You'll never hear these two again. Chris Cuomo will go start his own podcast and do his radio show. He'll basically like what Bill O'Reilly did, right? That's what Chris Cuomo will do. He'll have a small following because they don't have a big following at all over there. I told Zach earlier, I said, if CNN wanted on in the airports, I think I may have more viewers than they do. That's a joke, guys, because I don't have a lot of viewers. But that the Cuomo thing, I never respected him as a person. And the only thing I can say is that I understand you trying to help your brother out. I do understand that. So if it was my brother in that situation, I don't know what I would do. So I'm not going to fault someone for helping their brother, but I will fault you for everything leading up to that, allowing either one of you to be put in that situation. And it all comes down to the kind of people that they are, I think. It just shows the kind of people that they are. 100%. So, I don't watch CNN. I watch Tucker Carlson. That's it on Fox. I don't mind Hannity, but Hannity's really one-sided. But Tucker Carlson's really the only person I really care to watch.
Judge Jeanines one-sided too.
Yes, and I don't watch a lot of her.
And Judge Jeanines also got a big ego.
Mm-hmm. Tucker Carlson, I think,
Because
is the
like,
most
story about
legitimate one.
Probably since like David Brinkley or Walter Cronkite or Paul Harvey or any of the old legendary journalists, who weren't as like atrocious as journalists you see today.
And Bill O'Reilly wasn't bad. Bill O'Reilly wasn't bad either. I like Tucker. Yeah. Tucker doesn't care. Tucker will criticize whoever. I've seen him.
Well, and Larry King seemed like he was real decent, but he may have not been the absolute best.
Yeah. But I don't watch anyone in the liberal media at all. One, it probably doesn't help because I don't swing that way. But at the same time, I've watched enough. Like I literally watch the liberal media to find talking points for this podcast because I know I'm going to find it every day.
Well,
and I mean,
and I think like other good journalists who like. That are like okay, even if they're not the absolute best, are like Lara Logan and Cheryl Atkinson, and look at what they've had to endure during their time at CBS.
Mm-hmm. You want to know who really lost my respect lately? And I didn't even know her. Honestly, she lost my respect as soon as she gained it. Is the girl from News Nation. Ashley Branfield or something like that.
Ashley Benfield.
Yeah, she did that interview with Rittenhouse. First of all, she interviewed Rittenhouse's defense attorney right after the case, and she was. I've never seen someone act so desperate to get an interview with someone. She was begging the defense attorney during their interview for a chance to interview Kyle. And right there, I'm like, really? Like, God, you really seem desperate. Like, it's one thing to do that outside of the interview, like afterwards, like off the script, right? Hey, we want to do this. That's a whole different deal. I'm all for that. You got to do whatever you got to do. But in the middle of your interview, while everyone is watching, you're going to appear desperate like that. And then when she goes and interviews Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole time, her only goal was to get him to say something that she could capitalize on. Mm-hmm. She was looking for that soundbite, and it was the most. Good.
I just saw the most interesting meme that came across like a group text message just now that reads, "Raise your hand if you think that Elmo would do a better job than Biden."
Oh yeah. Oh, you must have tuned out when we were talking about the memes that we've seen lately. There was one funny one.
There's plenty more where that came from.
Well, did you see the one with the Cuomo's that said new Cuomo economic report just released? Unemployment rate is 100%.
Don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, that's a funny one. And then, again, you're not on Facebook. There's groups on Facebook, but they're all getting banned. But there's groups on Facebook that are just, they're so bad. And they're so funny, though. They're so fucking funny. The memes that they have. I have a couple that I made on the Real Podcast page, too. And it was a picture of two bears talking to each other. And it said, hey, man, do you like salmon? Right. And then the other one said, does a Biden shit in his pants? It was two bears saying that to each other. And then, oh God, I have a couple funny ones on that got a lot of views as far as memes go. Because I started out making memes, and then I went to making those parody videos, and those took off. So I haven't made any memes lately, but some of them are hilarious. So it's funny. I always look at the memes. I'm like, how do people come up with this stuff? Like, where do you find the inspiration?
They've got some creative mojo.
Oh yeah. What it is you have so many different people that think so differently, but they agree on the same topics, but their minds come from just different angles. So you get the best of, like, if there's 70,000 people in these groups making these memes, you're going to get some funny ones. And, because, hell, making the parody videos, it's just movies I watch, right? And then I see something that a politician says, I'm like, oh, that matches, that'd be funny, and I just put it together, right? So it's not as creative but But making some of these memes that these people do is just so funny. And it's extremely creative. I wish they could monetize them because I have like 1,000 shares on one of them. But it'll be taken down. I'll be kicked off Twitter here probably by the end of the month, I imagine, with the stuff I've been saying. Did you see where Biden tweeted today and he said, "Oh, we had another call in." Spicoli?
Spicoli. Oh, he's good people.
Yep. I accepted it, but for some reason he's not joining.
I don't know if he meant to call or not, but you can invite him like clicking on his icon in chat.
Oh, he says an accident. He says you're more than welcome to call in. Anyone's welcome. But now I'm getting a warning. No. Okay, lost my train of thought. Biden tweeted today talking about the big pharma and drug prescription costs. He says, this is why in this infrastructure bill we're, doing the Medicare negotiations to lower prescription drug costs. And I'm like, y'all realize how he threw the Medicare part in there, right? Only old people are on Medicare. Other people take medicine too. It's not going to impact anything he's doing. Is not going to lower drug costs for anyone other than the people that are on Medicare. Who are you helping? There's a lot that they pass over, and I went over some economic reports earlier, and I'm not going to get back into them again, but there's a lot that are unforeseen. Like the quit rate, I put up a graph on the quit rate in the country, which is just the rate that people are quitting their jobs. And it's staggering. When you see the graph, it's pretty level. In Obama's term, it's kind of gradually increasing. Then Trump, it kind of flattens out. Except for COVID, it has a huge dip because obviously no one was quitting their job. They're getting laid off or they were keeping their job. Once Biden took office, it just skyrockets. Like a whole %. All right, let's see if this is an accident or not.
No, man. Thank you.
What's going on?
Oh, not much, man. What's up, Eric?
Thanks, Carly.
No, there's lots of people that are on Medicare. If you, for instance, yeah, it's fucked up to be not 65 and be on that. I'm on it. I'm on there for disability from.
Well, there's different reasons. I understand that.
Yeah.
And I work in finance, so I work with people, and I work in the Medicare stuff. I sell Medicare related products, but so I get the gist. But what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people that are on Medicare before 65, and I understand that, but the majority isn't.
Correct.
Right. The majority is not on Medicare before 65. Now, some of those medicines that maybe they lower the cost for will bleed into younger people. But a lot of the medications that are taken by older people or the people that are on Medicare are not the same medications that younger people are taking. So
right,
it's not going to lower the drug cost like they say it is. I think where the problem is that if these same drugs are very cheap outside of the country because we cover the cost. The United States, us, when we buy our medicine, we're basically paying for everyone else's medicine around the world. And I don't know how we got the short end of the stick on that deal, but that's...
Well, we always end up on the short end of the stick, but right now we have the population of the elderly is fucking huge, man.
It is. And it's getting bigger.
Right now
people that are going on Medicare.
A lot of old people. People are living longer, but there's just so many older people.
Well, you have baby boomers entering retirement.
Yes.
And then soon Gen Xers are going to be entering retirement.
Yes. So this actually, there's a good book on this. For those of you that are listening, there's a good book that I give to clients, and that's called The Power of Zero. And it's about Social Security. Really, the first 40, it's called The Power of Zero. And it talks about like how to, tax-free money and how to invest tax-free so, you don't pay tax. You get in the 0% tax bracket. But the main, I bring the book up because the important part is like the first 40 pages. And it talks about Social Security and why Social Security is failing and why they'll have to raise taxes to cover Social Security. So the problem is that you had all these baby boomers, and they didn't keep up reproduction-wise as their parents did. So that's one of the issues. We're paying for you have so many people that are becoming of age. I'm echoing. I don't know who's got the echo on, but
that's probably me. Let me hang up and call right back.
That's all right. But you have so many people that are coming of Social Security age, and I'm trying to think of the way to break this down. The best way to really is to go and read it. But Social Security is the biggest fuck up in American history, policy-wise. It's the worst policy ever implemented in the United States history.
It worked back then. It worked at that time, back in the fucking 40s. It worked. But now times have changed, and so much shit has changed. They've got to overhaul it. They should have overhauled it back in the 80s.
They should have gotten rid of it a long time ago. They
haven't. I've redone it.
Yep. I've calculated multiple times on this show what each person would save young people. What they should do now is phase it out. They should get rid of it for people like my age. I'm 29. Is it should phase out. Because unfortunately you have people that paid into it and they're going to be pissed if they don't get the money, right? But if you phase it out for people that are younger.
Get like 600.
Good.
I was going to say they get like $600 a fucking month. People that retire, and here's your Social Security check.
Well, it's pitiful.
Here, have a good time. Yes. How are you going to live on $600 a month? It does not work.
No,
it's a failed system.
Here's the other problem too. It's the most unfair tax we have. So we have the left that wants to talk about, we've got to tax the rich. We've got to make sure they pay their fair share. If the rich paying their fair share doesn't come in the form of increasing the tax brackets for income taxes. If you wanted to make sure they paid the fair share, and I'm not for this. I don't agree with this. I'm just saying if you were going to do it, then you would take off the income cap on the Social Security contribution. Because once you make over, like, I think it's $140 some $1,000 a year, you don't pay any more. So you pay 6.2% if you're employed. So if you're a W-2 employee, you pay 6.2% of your income to Social Security. That's 6.2% up to like roughly $140,000. It is. Oh, it's substantial. And then you still pay income taxes on that money. Because it doesn't, you paying the Social Security, that 6.2% doesn't lower your taxable income. You still pay the income tax on the money that you're not taking home that went to the Social Security. So it's already being taxed. Then they tax it again later. But that's besides the fact. Let's go. So the most you'll pay in a year, I think, is like $8,000 and some dollars annually. The problem is now you have someone, let's say, who makes $1 million a year, as opposed to someone who makes $100,000 a year. If you make $100,000 a year, you're going to pay 6.2% of your income to Social Security. If you make $1 million a year, the most you'll pay is $8,000 into Social Security. So that's like quarter of a percent of your income.
Mm-hmm.
See, fairness comes in the form of a percentage, not in the form of a dollar amount. If you wanted a fair tax law, you just have a flat tax rate. Everyone pays 10% of their income. No cap. You get rid of the tax deductions, everyone pays 10%. That's fair, right? Because 10% for someone making $100,000 a year is proportionately the same as 10% as someone making $1 million a year. Then you're also not punishing people for being successful and making a lot of money. But Social Security is the most unfair. It's a regressive tax rate, which means the more money you make, the over that income tax, over that $140,000, the less you pay proportionately. So the poor are the ones that pay more proportionally than the rich do into Social Security.
But the rich, I just saw this. It was a show this morning or either last night, where the Walmart, whatever the guy's name is, Walton,
Yeah.
and they named off Jeff Bezos. What is that guy? Bezos, whatever.
Bezos, yep.
Fucking
Jeff Bezos.
Space cadet, and the richest fucking people around. You know how much they paid in income tax? Zero.
Well, I know how much Amazon paid.
Last year.
That's actually wrong. Amazon paid.
I'm saying the man himself. He paid fucking $0.
Well, you know how much he made?
They
you know
do
what his
it-
income
they-
is? It's about $80,000.
Maybe zero. Okay. That's the way they make it look a certain way. They were showing how he did it. They go through Ireland and then back to Ireland. Then Ireland sends it over
Cayman
to fucking
Islands.
somewhere to
Well, they have their ways, but the biggest
something.
way.
And yeah, they do it.
Yeah.
They do it, and they get away with it, man. But that's shady. I think they should pay whatever the fuck they own. You know?
Well. So here's where you're going down.
10%.
Yes, you're going down a dark path here. This is where understanding in finance that I think we should teach kids from the time they're little comes into play. Okay. First of all, the problem with taxing the rich, like the Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos, is they want to tax their net worth. Okay, that's not right. That's wrong. It's wrong to tax
net worth.
I know,
No, I'm
but this
not
is what
saying
they're
tax
talking
their
about.
net worth.
Yeah, no, but people are saying, oh, Amazon's worth, $1 trillion and they paid zero in taxes. That's actually wrong. Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft paid like 25% of the total corporate income taxes that was collected last year. Okay? They paid their taxes. And Berkshire Hathaway was in there too. They pay tax. They pay more taxes than anyone else. The companies do. As far as the owner, like Jeff Bezos, he's taking it basically an owner's draw. He's getting paid like $80,000 a year, which for someone who's worth, $250 billion, that's nothing, right? $80,000 a year, you could easily write that off and not pay an income tax. The majority of Americans don't pay income taxes.
Well, let's stay on.
What's that?
I dropped my phone. Can you hear? Hold on a second. I dropped my fucking phone.
No, it's all right.
That's all right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you? Oh, okay. All right. That fucked my train of thought up. Okay. Hey, he's got a certain amount of money. That man spends. I bet money that man spends more than. Well, I know he does now with this space thing. More than $1 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Where from?
What was that?
Account? What account? What account would you say that $1 billion is coming from?
Honestly,
That's his
what he
own money.
probably does is he gets it from the bank as a loan, a very low or no interest loan from the bank because his credit is crazy. It's how a lot of them do it, and it's tax free at that point.
So if you get a loan for whatever, that's tax-free money.
Yes, you don't pay tax. Like if you got a loan for your house, you don't pay taxes on the money that you pay taxes on the sales purchase that you bought the house, which he's paying a sales tax on everything he buys and spends on. So he still pays more taxes than everyone else because he's buying more shit than everyone else, right? Because everyone forgets about the consumption tax. But what a lot of people will do is these people that are worth so much money like this, they'll just go get the money from the bank in the form of a very low interest rate loan, and because their credit worthiness is through the roof, they don't care because they know. If he spends $1 billion, well, he's worth $250 billion. You go sell some Amazon stock and pay it back.
Okay, so why would he get a loan? I know, so he does not have to pay taxes.
Yeah, because then he doesn't have to
correct?
liquidate money because they don't all have that cash.
He's cheating. He's fucking cheating the system.
Well, it's not cheating the system. It's allowed. If you had stock, you could do it too. You
It's
just
a
collateralize
loophole.
it.
It's a loophole.
But anyone
It's a
can do
loophole in
it.
the
Anyone that has
system.
stock can utilize that.
Yeah, it's a loophole in the system.
Yes, but you
He's
can't
got
blame the guy for taking
$250 billion,
advantage of something
but
that.
he's going to go ask.
Well, you
No,
gotta
I'm not
understand why he's doing
blaming
it.
him. I'm just saying
Yeah, we gotta understand why he's doing it. Because think about it like
to
this.
save money.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Think about it like
I'm
this.
not blaming him or
Yeah.
knocking him or anything.
No, I know, and we're just having a conversation, right? I'm just giving you a different perspective.
Yeah. No, I like your perspective because you're better. Man, I don't remember. I can't remember all the shit they taught in high school, and I don't even know if they taught finance in high school.
Which is wrong.
But
they should.
Yeah, they should have done a lot of shit, but
think about it like this: if
can
you
wish in
had,
one hand and shit in another.
if you had, let's say you had $100,000 invested in the market. Okay, we're gonna make it more realistic here. You have $100,000 invested in the market. You want to make a $1,000 purchase, but you don't have any cash on you. You have two choices. You can sell part of your $100,000, $1,000 of your $100,000 that has crazy gains. The majority of that stock that he owns is all capital gains that hadn't been taxed yet, and pay, at his rate, 50%. So you would only get you're going to pay $500 of the $1,000 to the government.
You lost me. He paid 50. Whoa! You lost me. He pays 50%.
Well, yeah, roughly because of how much money he's worth and how much money we're. So I'm just saying, because taxes. The government would take half of the money that he liquidates because he's paying capital gains taxes.
So if he pulled 100,000 out of his stock, they would tax him.
They would tax it.
Half?
Well, I'm just using a number. If it was $1 billion, they'd absolutely tax him half. So I'm just saying $100,000 is a smaller number, right? Let's say 25%. It doesn't matter. We'll just say 25%. So they're going to take $250,000 or $250 of his $1,000 that he just sold in stock, and that just went to the government. So he actually has to sell more than $1,000 worth of stock, so that he gets $1,000 in cash to buy whatever he was going to buy, and then he's going to pay more in taxes. That money's gone. Or you can go to the bank and collateralize $1,000 worth of that stock, get a $1,000 loan that you pay 1% back on.
So you would use that loan. You would use. For your loan, you'd use as collateral your stock.
Yes.
You'd use your stock as collateral.
Yes. I
know this is
good.
Finish what you're saying, because I've got a question that is totally off the fucking. No, it's not off the subject, but it's financial.
Yeah, but basically the idea is that he's worth so much money. But it's all relative, right? He's worth enough money that the bank is sure that he can pay back the loan.
Right.
So they're gonna. It's more advantageous to him to go and take out a loan to make these purchases at a small rate than it is to sell stock and pay a substantial percentage in taxes.
Right. I see where you're coming from. It's better to pay the bank 1% than pay the we just
the government whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, 25 fucking percent. I see that. I see that makes more sense, and I'm glad to hear he's paying a little bit more, and all of them are. But I have one question. If you have time?
Absolutely. No, we're here having a conversation. Good.
All right. What happens when? All right. Someone, your family member dies, and they left the house to you. It's a nice house. It's worth a good amount of money. Do I have to pay taxes on that when I forgot? I had the name of this morning. What is the name of the fucking taxes that they try to throw at you?
Estate taxes? Or capital gains tax?
Estate, yes.
Would it be an estate tax? Is that what it?
If it's over $11 million, it would be.
Oh fuck no! It
Okay,
ain't that
so
high.
no, you
God,
wouldn't be
no.
subject to estate tax. It'd be a capital gains tax. No, you wouldn't pay that. Now, some states
Would I
have a few
to
different
pay
laws.
any?
No, so how it works? Oh shit, everyone got disconnected. Well, I don't know what's going on. Everyone got disconnected there. We'll wait for them to join back up. See if they join back up. But basically what we're talking about is the taxes and capital gains taxes and Jeff Bezos, why he doesn't pay taxes, why he does certain things that he does to avoid the taxes. We'll see if everyone kind of comes back in. But Spicoli brought up a good point with this question. He asked, if I inherit a house, that's a nice house that has a lot of value, do I have to pay taxes? As of right now, no, because you have a step-up basis. And on the step-up basis, your cost basis is now whatever the current value of the house is. No matter what the original purchaser, your parents or grandparents purchased the house for. But that's something that they want to change with the Build Back Better plan. They actually want to change and get rid of that so that you do have to pay the capital gains taxes. And they eliminate the step up in basis. So that's something to be aware of. Now, we'll see if anyone does join back here to continue this conversation. But if not, then we're going to go ahead and close it out. We've been on for 2 hours, so doubled what we normally do. So I'll give them about a minute or two here. I don't think they're going to be able to get back in. For whatever reason, we got kicked. Both of them did. Huh. Well, I think we're just going to go ahead and cut it off. But for whatever reason, they got kicked, and I think we're having a connection issue. So we'll be back on tomorrow, though, and we'll continue this discussion. We'll have some other stuff to talk about. So don't forget to tune in. And don't forget, we're going to be on Rumble now as well. So if we do get kicked off Facebook and we do get kicked off of YouTube and all these other platforms, we will be on Rumble. So go follow us on Rumble, Real Conservative Talk. Go follow us on Facebook, Real Conservative Talk. Facebook, Real Conservative Talk, and on Twitter at RCT Podcast. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.